It is truly amazing to me how quickly our children learn from us, both bad and good. They see things we don't see. They hear things we don't even realize we say. They pick on phrases and patterns of behavior and then repeat them back to us, whether we like it or not. Kerrigan currently has a habit of using the word actually. She uses actually all the time. It's not a word that 3-year-olds tend to use very often, but Kerrigan does. I didn't realize how much Karen and I use the words actually until Kerrigan began saying it all the time. One of the things our children and just about every American picks up on in our lives is how quickly we create excuses for our behavior. When something goes wrong or we do something wrong, we always have an excuse and we decide we're going to blame people for it. Even when we aren't being accused of anything, we quickly have a reason set in our minds that we're going to use in case somebody were to blame us for something. I saw this in action with Kerrigan and Bryce right when Kerrigan first began to talk. She had this habit of saying, no. It didn't matter what the question was. It didn't matter whether the answer fit or not. Kerrigan would say, no. Well, Bryce was getting a little frustrated with this because every single time Kerrigan would go, no to him, no matter what the question was. He asked me why Kerrigan responded to everything with, no. And I said, well, she learned it from you, Bryce. And he quickly tried to say it couldn't have been from him. It had to be Karen, it had to be Riley, it couldn't be him. It wasn't him, didn't learn it from him. And he had decided somebody else had to be causing Kerrigan to say, no. And I said, now Bryce, have you ever listened to yourself? And he sat there with a puzzled look on his face and he said, no. Kerrigan had picked up on a pattern of speech and Bryce had picked up on a pattern of behavior. And I'm afraid that both of them picked it up from their parents. We all do it. We live in a world of excuses. The Reverend John Killinger tells a tale about a manager of a minor league baseball team. Things were not going well at all. Things were going horribly, in fact. The center fielder was making error after error, run after run was scoring, all because the center fielder kept messing up. Finally, the manager had enough. He ordered the center fielder to the dugout, and the manager took over in center field himself. So here's the manager taking over for the center fielder who had done such a poor job. The first ball that came into center field took a bad hop and hit the manager in the mouth. The next one was a high fly ball, which he lost in the glare of the sun until it bounced off his forehead. The third was a hard line drive that he charged with his outstretched arms. Unfortunately, it flew between his hands and smacked his eye. He was so angry that he ran back into the dugout, grabbed the center fielder by the uniform and shouted, "You idiot! You've got center field so messed up that I can't even do a thing with it." The blame game. Reader's Digest once compiled a list of reasons people give for why they showed up late to work. Some of these included, "I dreamed I was fired, so I decided not to get out of bed." Another was, "I was up all night arguing with God, and I didn't feel like I needed to come in." "A raccoon stole my work shoe off my porch. I was thinking and accidentally went to my old job." "My dog dialed 911 and the police wanted to question me about what really happened." Of course, we have all probably tried an excuse for not turning in homework back in school. A teacher in Cumberland, Rhode Island said one of her 4th graders told her, "I had a cold over the weekend and I was sneezing a lot, and I didn't want you to get sick if I sneezed on my homework, so I didn't do it." Another teacher was told, "I wasn't able to do my homework last night because we had to go to the grand opening of the Bass Pro Shop." 4 other students gave the same excuse. Another student said, "My mom didn't finish my homework like she usually does." There are all kinds of problems with that excuse. But the excuses don't stop there. As we become adults, and sometimes even sooner, we recognize the patterns and behaviors and traits that we blame on our parents. Relatives will say, "Well, that's exactly how your dad would do it. That's exactly how your dad would react." Or someone says, "You said it just the way your mom said it." or we do something that we promised when we saw our parents do it, we would never repeat it, and yet we do. So are we destined to be like our parents? Do we have control over our future? Or is it in the hands of circumstances? Is it in the hands of our upbringing? For those who don't know, this is a very important day in the life of nerds everywhere. And if you're wondering, if you're a Star Wars nerd, that is. If you're wondering, it is May the 4th be with you. Yes, May the 4th. It happens to be, I happen to be a Star Wars fan, if you hadn't guessed already. Last year I kicked off our series on the Beatitudes with a message about humility that used the Star Wars weekend as the theme. And now to be clear, I begin with the Bible and end with the Bible. So when I say all of this, I love Star Wars, but I like the Bible more. But I do like to find opportunities to demonstrate how the Bible applies in all areas of our lives. And it doesn't matter if it's in pop culture, the media, politics, or in our daily conversations with each other. The Bible is the lens I look through when I look at the world. A few years back, I was trying to explain a hard concept to Riley, and she just wasn't getting it. She looked at me finally and said, "Daddy, you're talking like a Wookiee." Well, I know very well that not everyone enjoys Star Wars or has seen Star Wars or even cares about Star Wars. So I'm going to try to avoid talking like a Wookiee today as much as I can. Yes, that sounds very close. That's really good. The basic plot of the early Star Wars movies focus on the dramatic tension in the relationship between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. Now, I don't think it's a big spoiler to reveal that Darth Vader turned out to be Luke Skywalker's father. And if that is a spoiler for you, let me tell you that Romeo and Juliet both die as well. Okay? The story is really about fathers and sons, parents and children. Darth Vader has given himself to the dark side, so the question becomes, will Luke follow? Will Luke Skywalker join the dark side and follow in the footsteps of his father? And does Luke have a choice?
Luke, you do not yet realize your importance. You have only begun to discover your power. I am your father. No. It's not true. That's impossible. Search your feelings. You know it to be true. It is your destiny. Join me. Together, we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
Come with me. It is the only way. Darth Vader repeats it over and over. Luke, it is your destiny to join the dark side. So the question is, will Luke follow in his father's footsteps? Is his path predetermined? Is it his destiny? Or is Luke able to choose a different way? In the Old Testament, the children of Israel quoted an old proverb that is mentioned twice in Jeremiah. The proverb is this one: the parents have eaten sour grapes and the children's teeth are set on edge. What the proverb basically means is that the children are going to face whatever it is that the parents do. The children are going to face the sin, they're going to face the retribution. Whatever happens to the parents is going to happen to the children. So if they're having sour grapes, the children are also going to be eating sour grapes, whether they're eating them or not. The children of Israel believed this to be true. If your parents did something, then you would do it too. You would pay for the sins of your parents, and you were doomed to their destiny. In Lamentations 5 verse 7, it expresses this even more clearly. Our ancestors sinned and are no more, and we bear their punishment. Both of those passages talk about destiny. Both are based on what I believe is actually a misunderstanding of this commandment. So it says, you shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. Now look at that verse for a moment. Reading it alone, it seems to say exactly what the children of Israel believed. If your father creates an idol, if your father gives in to the dark side, you have no choice. You are destined to pay for whatever your father does. But that's not what this verse is actually saying. In Exodus, when it's talking about the Ten Commandments, it's not saying that all of a sudden your destiny is going to be whatever your father did. It does tarnish your own reputation because of what the parents did. But the Israelites, the children of Israel, had misquoted the scripture over and over again. Now, a prophet in the Old Testament is someone who speaks for God. And Ezekiel was one of these prophets. So when the words came out of his mouth, he was actually speaking for God. And he wanted to make it clear to the children of Israel that they shouldn't be deceived by destiny. In Ezekiel 18, verses 1 to 4, it says, "The word of the Lord came to me." This is Ezekiel speaking. "What do you people mean by quoting this proverb about the land of Israel? The parents eat sour grapes and the children's teeth are set on edge. Why are you quoting this proverb? As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, you will no longer quote this proverb in Israel." God's not happy about this. "For everyone belongs to me, the parent as well as the child. Both alike belong to me. The one who sins is the one who will die. The one who sins is the one who will die." They were deceived by destiny. They believed that father sins, then the son sins. They both share in the sin. And this passage is saying, no, you guys have been quoting this proverb all wrong. You are being deceived by destiny. God is saying, you got it wrong. And I find it fascinating. We have the Bible telling us that we've got a group of people who are misquoting Scripture. That's why it's so important to look at context. As we read through the New Testament this summer, you're going to get to see things in context, in order. And when you hear somebody pull a passage out, just grab this verse and say, oh, this means this. Look at the context. Look at what surrounds it. Look at all the parts of it. Exodus continues on. "Yet you ask, why does the son not share the guilt of his father? Why does Luke Skywalker not share the guilt of Darth Vader? Since the son has done what is just and right and has been careful to keep all of my decrees, he will surely live. The one who sins is the one who will die. The child will not share the guilt of the parent, nor will the parent share the guilt of the child. The righteousness of the righteous will be credited to them, and the wickedness of the wicked will be charged against them." God is saying, you got it wrong. Now this is good news for Luke Skywalker. He doesn't have to follow in his parents' footsteps. He doesn't have to follow in what his parents did. He doesn't have to follow in what took place previously. He will not be judged for his father's trip to the dark side. Now, modern psychology seems to argue that the reason we are the way we are is because our parents did something to mess us up. It's not our fault. We can blame them. What's the first thing you hear in every major court case? I was abused. I had this go wrong in my childhood. The circumstances affected my life. The field of genetics has changed the way we view connections with our families. We can say that genetically, whether we like it or not, we are a lot like our parents. We are predisposed to cancer because of our parents. We are predisposed to no cavities because of our parents. Alcoholism, Alzheimer's, and so many other conditions are linked genetically. This can be very overwhelming, especially if you believe in destiny. What if we call these genetic markers and links the dark side, as Darth Vader described it? When it comes to the Old Testament, the people dealt with the issue of class. What class you were born into is the class you likely stayed in. Again, another dark side. But that's where Jesus steps in. It is the promise of Jesus that destiny can be transcended. It is the promise of Jesus that class doesn't matter. We can make the choice to have a different destiny. We can choose how we use our brains. We can choose how we use our bodies. Our parents may have chosen a different path, but we can choose another. You may have noticed that Ezekiel refers to death several times in these passages. The one who sins is the one who will die. Several times it's mentioned in this passage. The fact is, that was the destiny for sinners in the Old Testament. But that's no longer our destiny in Jesus Christ. We are no longer enslaved by sin and the dark side. We can repent, we can turn, we can walk a different direction, and we can live. Ezekiel 18:21, but if a wicked person turns away from all the sins they have committed and keeps all my decrees and does what is just and right, that person will surely live. They will not die. None of the offenses they have committed will be remembered against them. Because of the righteous things they have done, they will live. Do I take any pleasure in the death of the wicked, declares the sovereign Lord? Rather, I am not pleased when they turn from their ways and live. Deceived by destiny. Repent and live. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how deeply in sin you may have fallen. Jesus is calling. Jesus is calling each of us. And we can keep playing the blame game all we want. We can keep saying it's somebody else's fault. But God is saying, you can't do that. You can't blame others. You can't blame your father. You can't blame your mother. You can't blame your grandparents. It is all up to you. You have to make the decision as to what you are going to do going forward. Are you going to repent and live, or are you going to give in to the dark side?